Welcome to the Going North podcast, where you will be encouraged, informed, and empowered to embrace your dreams and advance in life through authorship. I'm your host, bestselling author, certified leadership trainer, and book enthusiast Dom Brightmon. Be sure to check out the goods and services from every guest, as well as some of the books from yours truly, the host. Now let the fun begin. And today on the Going North podcast, where it's hashtag GNP Year 3, baby. That's right, GNP Year 3. This wonderful podcast has been interviewing all sorts of fabulous humans from across the globe, and this one's right here in the US of A, folks. And she's a millennial. And you know what's even better? She's kicking lots of arse out there as a millennial. My goodness. This lady right here, at the age of 27, she retired, y'all. At 27. Not 72 if you're dyslexic, 27. She quit her job and retired, living off of over 15 grand per month in passive income. That's right, y'all. All the football catches are being made today with this lady right here. And she's made a name for herself in the personal finance realm, and she's the best-selling author of 2 books, Money Honey and Passive Income, Aggressive Retirement. And as I say sometimes, honeys have all the money, and my goodness, aggressive retirement, my goodness. Like, you gotta love that. And it doesn't even stop there, folks. She's been featured on Penny Hoarder and the New York Times and has been contracted to speak at colleges. And being a former financial advisor and a real estate investor with almost 40 rental units, her valuable lessons have helped thousands of female millennials work their way out of financial despair. And the good news is she has successfully done what no one has done before, made the topic of money management fun, entertaining, and simple. So let's give it up for Miss R&R herself, Miss Residual Income and Relaxation, Rachel Richards. How you doing today, ma'am?
Hey, Dominique, that was the best intro. Thank you so much. I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing fabulous indeed. When I saw your name and I thought R&R, like, God, yes, this is an easy pun waiting to happen.
I love it.
Yes, indeed. That's right. That's right, indeed. So congratulations. Heck, even forgot to mention, like, at the time of this record, you're like rating and defending champ in Amazon. Like, both of your books are #1 bestsellers still.
Yeah, I didn't even know that until you said so. So that's cool.
Oh, yeah, cooler than 5 cucumbers. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Well, as you know, with all introductions, there's always some dental cavities. So mind filling in any cavities I may have missed about the Radiant Rachel herself?
I think you pretty much covered it all. I started my passive income journey in 2017. So I didn't have any passive income before then. I was, working full time. One thing I always like to tell people, because a question I get a lot is, well, are you a trust fund baby? Because how do you own 40 rental units? um, so no, I'm not a trust fund baby. I've never made 6 figures in my life. I'm not a trust fund baby. So I just say that to encourage people that it's possible for everyone, no matter their income level.
There you go. And it's all about location too, because I believe most of the rental units are middle America for you, right?
Yes, they're all in Kentucky, which is where I lived for 20 years. And we actually just moved to Colorado. So now we are long distance landlords.
There you go. The best type of long distance relationship.
That's right.
But yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And it's so amazing too, because I did a little research on you, and it's amazing that I think it was 6th grade you read that fabulous book that helped you to really get that head start on really getting a good grip on finances. So what do you think was probably one of the biggest things up you to get to that level of curiosity and actually act on it?
I don't know where I picked up the book, but I do remember I've always been a little bit of a nerd. I love to read. I love to learn. I'm definitely a finance nerd. But in 6th grade, I found this book, and I remember going to summer camp with my friends, and all my friends were, going down the water slides and playing. And I was sitting at the edge of the pool reading this book. I was so interested in the information. I think it was the Motley Fool's Guide for Teens, How to Have More Money Than Your Parents Ever Dreamed of. And at the time, to me, that sounded really attractive. So I remember reading it. My mind was blown. I learned about compound interest and all these really cool things. And I figured, well, I could learn a lot now and really understand how to get ahead financially at a young age. And so that's what I did.
There you go. There you go. And you stuck with it too. And heck, even got into Cutco selling knives along with the legend known as Hal Elrod. You followed his path somewhat without even knowing it.
That's right. That's right. We might have crossed paths a little bit in our time selling Cutco, but at the time I was a high school graduate. I just graduated high school. And because of what I had learned about money management, I was terrified at the idea of taking out student loans because I knew people that were 30, 40, 50, and they were still paying down their student loans. And I was just scared of having that hold me back my whole life. I'm very debt averse. I don't like to have debt. So at the time I was working at American Eagle, making maybe $200 per paycheck, and looking at these colleges that were extremely expensive and trying to figure out how I was going to pay for it, because I was going to have to pay for school all on my own. So I went into this interview for Cutco, the crazy knife job, as they call it. It was very, very weird. It was very weird at first. But then I was like, well, actually, this is kind of cool, because it was the first time I'd been exposed to something where the harder you work, the more money you make. So, and I knew I could outwork anybody. I came home that evening and I told my parents what I was going to do. And I don't think they knew how to respond. My mom was less than thrilled about the idea of me selling sharp objects to family, friends, and strangers. But that's what I did. I sold Cutco and I paid my way through school and I graduated without debt. And to this day, it's definitely one of my proudest accomplishments.
Sweet. That's what I'm talking about. What do you think made your parents so afraid about that? I mean, it's just selling knives. It's not like if someone buys it, you could probably block the knife with your knife if they went to that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they were just wary of how it was going to be done. They didn't know if I was going to be going to door, which I wasn't. It's all done based off of referral. But, I am going into people's houses that I don't know. So I just think they were slightly concerned. But they've also been very supportive, where they know if I set my mind to something, they just sort of stay out of my way.
Yep. That's right. Type A personality, ahoy. It's like, all right, if they're focused on something, get the heck out of the way or get run over, right?
That's exactly me. Yes.
So that's what one of the other R's in Rich or Richer stands for, run over. All right, cool. All right. Let me stop. Oh my goodness. Well, congratulations on that. And the good thing about it is it doesn't stop from there. You just keep, it seems like whatever you put your mind to, you actually keep going and pushing through and conquering the goal one after another and just keep on plowing through. So what's probably been the main thing that helps you to keep that drive and determination?
Well, they say fear is the greatest motivator. And for me, that has been what has driven me my whole life. So when I was young in middle school and high school, when I first found that book, The Motley Fool's Guide, at that point, we were living in this really wealthy county, and that's where I grew up. And my parents went through a few hard years where it's like they had the worst financial luck ever. Everything went wrong, and they really struggled after that. We had to downsize and everything. And in the meantime, I'm going to a high school where people are getting brand new BMWs for their 16th birthday. And that's not how my family was operating. I mean, we stopped going on vacations. We weren't even going out to eat at restaurants anymore. So I felt this overwhelming feeling of not fitting in. And that's definitely not how you want to feel in middle school and high school. So I remember thinking to myself, I don't want to end up like everyone I know struggling with finance. I don't want to have to operate on a strict budget for the rest of my life. I don't want to have to borrow money from family and friends to make it to my next paycheck. I wanted to be different. And I realized that what I did then could either set me up for wealth or for poverty. That's one of the reasons I started taking finance so seriously and started reading everything I could. And that has motivated me to do basically everything I've ever accomplished is because of that. Because I have this fear of not having enough money. And I grew up with this sort of scarcity mindset of feeling like there was never enough money to go around. And I have this fear of not being able to take care of myself financially, not being able to take care of a loved one. So that's why I've done the things I've done. I've gotten to a point now where we're making so much passive income that I've largely overcome that fear, but I still feel like it's probably down in my subconscious somewhere.
It's almost like it can't escape, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and really what you're teaching is really what's needed now more than ever because a lot of people have been furloughed, been fired, and all that other sad stuff. And really, like, how have you been able to really stay resilient through these times? Because I know rental properties is a big stream for you, along with book royalties when they keep coming in. So, how have you been faring off so far?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked because obviously my income has been impacted. And for example, in April, we had a pretty rough month with the rental income. So in any normal month, we are making anywhere from $8,000 to $12,000 per month in profit just from the rental income. But in April, we only made $1,000 in profit. So that's an enormous decrease. Now, here's the thing though, the only reason I wasn't operating out of panic and desperation is because I had all these other income streams keeping me afloat. I have my book royalties. I have the money I make from my online course. We have money coming in from a real estate syndication. So we have 4 or 5 passive income streams, which brings me to a great point because I think there's a lot of misconception around having income security and job security if you're a full-time salaried employee or something like that. I think that's a misconception because if you're 100% dependent on a single source of income, there's nothing secure about that. What happens when you lose your job, when your hours get cut back? And that's exactly what we've been seeing all year, unfortunately. So if you really want to safeguard your income against something like coronavirus or a recession, then the best thing to do is look for multiple sources of income. Have your income coming in from a diverse source. That way you're not dependent on a single source of income. So I call it income diversification, and it's one of the biggest benefits about creating passive income streams.
I love what you said there. Of course, the fun one, income diversification. Also, job security is not being the same as income security because some folks still may be employed, but their hours are cut, and thus your income isn't secure.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about right there, indeed. Well, speaking of basically income security and income diversification, you're actually updating book number one, Money Honey. So, what led to the update of book number one?
A few things. So when I published Money Honey in 2017, I was a new self-published author and basically didn't know what I was doing. I mean, the content of the book is obviously great because it's a bestseller and it's still selling really well, but the interior formatting and some of the pictures, it's just a little low quality. It doesn't look as professional as I wanted it to. And the other thing is I made the mistake of designing my own book cover. And
Oh,
it's
wow.
it's not horrible, but there's some things that really could be better on the book cover. If, I always say to authors, there's 2 places to not be cheap when you're publishing a book. That's your editor and your book cover design. Don't be cheap there. That's what I did, and that was a mistake in terms of the book cover. So I'm updating the book cover. I'm going to tweak and update some of the content inside. Obviously update all the statistics and facts that I refer to. But the most exciting thing, Dominique, is that Paula Pant of Afford Anything is writing the foreword for the 2nd edition of Money Honey, and I cannot be more thrilled.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice. That's what I'm talking about right there. Because, I mean, the cover wasn't so bad, but you're definitely right. Like, hey, don't skimp on the book cover because like the classic lie of don't judge a book by its cover is so much a big lie because if folks are walking through a bookstore, even with the COVID nonsense with social distancing, your book still got to capture somebody's eye. You still have to get that attention factor in the play there.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, everyone judges books by their cover. I judge my own books by their cover. So you have to have something that's catchy, something that if it's a thumbnail size, you can still clearly read the title and subtitle, clean, modern. And that's, I definitely went wrong there. So don't be like me.
Nah, be like Rachel. take action. You take action. Because I was in the same boat. I had no idea what the hell I was doing for my book either. So we're both actually, I think it's like almost all really authors with their first book, especially
Yeah.
self-published. Like no one knows what the hell they're doing. But funny enough, subconsciously, I think you actually did know what you were doing because funny enough, when I was listening to one of your past interviews on the Eventual Millionaire, which is probably my favorite from you, where you mentioned how you were actually adding so much value to a group of millennial ladies that you actually ended up building a launch team because you were adding so much value to them for years.
Yes, it was sort of this unintentional launch team that I formed, but it ended up working out really well. When I first launched Money Honey, I didn't have any following. No one knew who I was. I used to be a financial advisor, but that's kind of the only credibility factor that I had going for me. But the thing was, I was really active in this one Facebook group that had, I don't know, 10 or 12,000 female millennials. And the group wasn't about money. It was actually more politics oriented. But every now and then a money question would come up. And because I love to help people, I would always jump on the thread and I'd say, hey, Rachel, I'm Rachel, former financial advisor here. Here's what I think. And I would write out this really detailed, helpful response. And people really appreciated that. So after doing that enough times, if someone posted a money question, people would start to tag me and they'd be like, oh, you need to ask Rachel, or Rachel Richards is your girl, she'll help you. So it was really cool. I became known as sort of this finance guru within this group that people really trusted and looked to for advice. So when I thought of the book idea for Money Honey, I went to this group and I was like, hey, you guys, here's what I'm thinking. What do you guys think? And everyone responded and they were like, please write this book. You make money so easy to understand. There was hundreds of women on that thread that were like, please write this book. I'll buy it. So that was great, not only market research, but almost like idea validation. And I started writing the book. I kept going back to this group, kept helping them and adding value. And I would have them vote on the cover. I'd have them vote on the title of the book. So by the time I launched the book months later, I had thousands of women that were emotionally invested in the success of my book and wanted to buy it right away. So I didn't do any of that intentionally. In hindsight, now, of course, it makes a lot of sense. And I'm like, good job, Rachel. But it was a great way to sort of build almost a platform or a launch team without having any type of following.
Ah, that's what I'm talking about right there. You heard that right, folks. Being helpful definitely helps. No pun intended.
Yes, always add value first before asking for anything.
Oh yeah, that's right. That genuine value indeed. It's not like, hey, I got this article for you. It's shiny. It's got bullet points. Like, no, actual advice from your expertise and truly adding value first indeed. And that's what Rachel did. So definitely a huge magical lesson for folks to really take home. Definitely take home indeed. So since this is far from your first ever podcast, Rhodey, is there a question that you wish you would be asked more often when you're on the interview side of the game?
Oh, I like that question. Something that I like to talk about is sort of mental health. And I like to talk about it because I think there's a stigma around it, unfortunately, but I think so many people struggle with it. And I bring it up as a writer and as an entrepreneur because there are things that I did in my journey that caused me to really suffer with burnout as an entrepreneur, which then led into anxiety, which then led into depression, unfortunately. And that was a really scary place to be. But I think when you are an author, writer, entrepreneur, business owner, and you're working for yourself, it can be really hard to have boundaries, right? Because when I'm going into an office working for somebody else, I'm going in at 8 and I'm leaving at 5. So I have these clear boundaries of when my workday starts and ends. When you're working for yourself or you're an author and you love what you do, it can be really hard to turn it off at the end of the day. Especially because a lot of the time our work, writing books or writing whatever you write, it's fun. It feels fun to me. So I could be doing a whole 12-hour day of working on my book business and feel like, oh, that was a really fun day. But in reality, no one can keep that up. That's going to really come back to hurt you. And that's what happened to me. So I would just say to entrepreneurs, anyone that's maybe feeling like they're struggling with burnout or anxiety, you just have to be very, very protective of your schedule and of your time. I remember feeling like I didn't have any control over my schedule, but you do have control. You really learn to say no sometimes instead of yes, because I think a lot of us are told you should say yes to every opportunity that comes your way. And I agree with that when you're starting out, right? When you're hustling, when you're first getting your book out there, you want to get yourself out there and say yes. But there will come a point where if you keep doing that, that's not going to be good for your business because all of a sudden your schedule is going to fill up with everyone else's priorities except for your own. So kind of watching out for that and learning to say no can be a very powerful thing when you're growing your writing business.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up because, like, if especially in my social media feed, because the way I like to keep it away from morons is like self-care is really talked about. That's probably one of the hottest topics right now, like really on people's minds because of and that was even before the darn pandemic happened. Like that was like the biggest thing because a lot of folks wouldn't actually protect their time and their schedules, whether it's for work or if they're an entrepreneur, and just really just having that really just build up on you. And it's like you're carrying this giant boulder, building this pyramid for someone else when it's like, hey, I got my own pyramid here I'm trying to build. So like it's so darn true. It's like folks need to keep self-care and mental health in mind. So what do you do to keep your mind as fresh as possible?
So you already brought up Hal Elrod, and one of the reasons I'm such a big fan of his is because his book, The Miracle Morning, has truly changed my life. I mean, it's definitely top 5 books of all time for me. So The Miracle Morning is all about starting your day intentionally and starting it off in a positive, intentional manner. Because a lot of us, I mean, this is what I used to do, and sometimes I still do this. I just roll over, I look at my phone in the morning, and I kind of just go through the motions. There's no intentionality. So Hal talks about starting your day off with certain exercises that can really put your mind in the right place. And it can set you up to have a really positive, productive, energetic day. And when you can have those days over and over again, back to back, you're going to set yourself up to have the best year of your life. So he talks about doing things like meditation, affirmations, doing a gratitude, journaling exercise, reading books, working out. There's several things that he recommends doing first in the day. And I have noticed that when I do that routine, I am a much happier and healthier person.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely gotta love Hal Elrod. If I actually look back when I used to ask people their favorite book question on the guest, like that would probably be in the top 5 of books that would pop up because it's so darn good, especially with the results you get from it. Like what you said, starting your day off with intention is like, hey, rolling over and turning your phone on, having that light blast in your eyes and checking these emails, like, oh, I got to put out these fires. And then you're groggy for the rest of the day and you're like, oh, crap. Ah, is today hump day? Oh no, it's
Yeah.
Sunday. Darn it.
Yes, yes. That's how I used to feel. And now that I have a better morning routine, it's just definitely had a big impact.
Sweet. That's what I'm talking about right there. So any advice for creating a good night routine? Because I feel like that's something that's missing out there.
That's a great question. There's a couple things I do at night. One of the things I used to do is I preferred to do my gratitude exercise in the evening because that would force me to, throughout the day, my mind would pick up on things that I enjoyed or that I was grateful for. And once you start doing that every single day, you train your mind to look for things you're grateful for. It's really cool. So I like to do that at the end of the day. I would just list out 3 or 5 things I was grateful for that day. So I would recommend that. And then the other thing I like to do, I use the bullet journal, which is a method for planning and organizing your to-do list and your schedule. I've tried all different types of time management and organization before. I've tried Trello and all these different things. But for some reason, the bullet journal has really worked for me better than anything else. So I love that. But one thing I do each night is I look at what did I accomplish today? And what do I need to do tomorrow? So I'll kind of list out and prioritize my main tasks that I need to get done the next day. That way, when I wake up, I'm ready to go.
Ah, I'm so glad I asked that question because that's so darn awesome. Like that, those questions are freaking sweet. Like definitely, I might have to add that one to what I do for the night routine because it's like, you know what? Like because your brain is basically cooking at night of ways to get that idea done the next day. So that's freaking awesome.
Yeah, that's so true because I have a hard time falling asleep in general, but at night I'm thinking of all the things I need to get done and it helps me to just write out everything in my journal. That way I have the peace of mind of knowing I don't have to remember everything. Everything's written down and ready to go tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, that's right, ready to go. It's like you hop out of bed and then you can put on some slippers since it's retirement.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, man, good stuff indeed. Well, yes, indeed, yes, indeed. Well, coming down the pike here, got a couple more questions and then we'll ring the bell for a metaphorical class. So, a big thing that really stuck out about you to me is the fact that imposter syndrome caught the bug for you too, with book number two more than book number one. So, just like you to share your experience with that and any advice for those aspiring writers out there or those who are trying to keep going to really push past that imposter syndrome.
Yes, I'm glad you asked. It's my least favorite part of launching a book because I feel that way every time and it can just be overwhelming. But when I first wrote Money Honey, I had all this positive feedback from the very beginning. The words were pouring out of me and I was really excited. And then about 4 months in, everything had changed mentally. I started doubting myself. I started telling myself things like, your writing is crap, Rachel, or who do you think you are, Rachel, to write this book? It's going to be an embarrassment if you go through with publishing it. So it was really difficult. I realized that anytime you're an author or an artist and you're putting your work out there in the public for people to judge, that can be a very scary and vulnerable thing. And I just wasn't prepared for that mentally. So I shut down. I actually quit writing the book. I had no intention of ever picking it back up again. Luckily, though, I sat down with a good friend at some point and kind of confessed to her what I was working on. And she was like, Rachel, you have to finish this. You're really onto something. Please finish what you set out to do. So I did. I picked it back up. And in the end, the only reason I went through with publishing it is because I told myself, if I can just help one person, that's all I wanted to do. And that truly was my motivation. I lowered my expectations for myself that much so that I would go through with publishing it. I think that if I had been motivated to make this quick money grab or something, it just wouldn't have done as well because people would have seen right through it. So luckily I did. I went through with publishing it. It still took me months to really feel like I could be 100% confident in my work. And I think it took hearing from random strangers and random readers on the internet that read my book to really understand that I was helping people and impacting people and changing people's lives. And then I began to grow more confident and really overcome the imposter syndrome. But you brought it up, which is the weird thing that happened with my second book, because I thought when I launched my second book, I was thinking, oh, I'm a pro. I remember feeling super, all this self-doubt with the first launch, but now I know what I'm doing. So this is going to go a lot smoother. But that's not the case. Actually, the imposter syndrome hit me even harder for the second book. And it was crazy. It was just such a period of anxiety for me leading up to the launch of passive income, aggressive retirement. It was awful. And what I think I kind of did wrong mentally is that I was comparing my second book to my first book. Because Money Honey had done so well, I mean, it sold thousands of copies. It has over 600 reviews on Amazon. And because it did so well, I kept thinking, oh my gosh, I have all this pressure. My second book has to be just as good. How am I going to do this? I need to make this an even bigger success than the first book. And that put a lot of pressure on myself. And I realized you can't compare one book to another. They're going to be different. My launch strategy was different. Everything I did was different for my second book. So it was unfair for me to put that expectation on myself. Once I realized that, I was able to get past it and launch it with success. But I do think that every author or artist can feel imposter syndrome leading up to the launch of their product because it's just a scary thing.
Yeah, you could say that again. It's so darn true. It's like especially when you have this unexpected success from your first product. It's like, oh, all right, momentum. Let's keep it up. Woohoo! Let's go.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
darn it, the beast is coming after me. Crap, no. Take it back. Woo! But I'm glad you're able to conquer that and release book number 2. And funny enough, I'm actually curious. Like, you have this plan of releasing a fiction novel within the next 5 years or so. So, any carrots of what genre it might be, or is it all like G14 classified?
It's not classified. It's just that I don't know. But genres, I have no idea what I'll write about. But I do love sort of the dystopian novels and more of like the suspense or mystery, that kind of stuff. So it could go in that direction, but I don't know. It could be, a romantic comedy. I have no idea. But it's funny. It's something I'm just doing right now to play around and have fun. One thing that I've always done in the past is I've always been driving towards all these different goals. I've been super ambitious. I've almost always tried to monetize everything I've ever done. And I've realized now that I've retired, it's like, Rachel, you don't have to monetize everything. You can do things for fun, that's okay too. You can have fun. You can have a hobby that's just for you. So that's ultimately my goal with the fiction writing, is just to have something on the side that's fun, and I'm not going to pressure myself to do anything or publish anything. But one of my big dreams is to write a fiction novel. So we will see what happens in the next 5 years.
Sweet. Hey, to have you back on, be part of your launch team for that magical book. That's what I'm
Ooh,
talking about.
thank you.
Ah, yes, indeed. Well, alrighty. Looking forward to that. And we're coming down to the magical question. And since you're millennial, this one's going to be a modified version. So if you're to wake up tomorrow and you were 18 again, but this time in 2020 with all of your amassed knowledge, experience, and there was no pandemic, what advice would you give to yourself?
That's such a great question. I would tell myself, start now. There's no reason you can't start now, because we all hold ourselves back for one reason or another. I still procrastinate all the time. I still build up things in my head to make them bigger than they actually are. So I do this and I struggle with it. But really, when I think back, I could have started investing in real estate earlier. I could have started writing a book earlier. I was telling myself things like, well, I need to learn more. I need to have more money in order to do it. But you really don't. There's ways around doing that for real estate investing. And for things that don't require a ton of money, there's no reason you can't start doing it right now. So that's what I would tell myself. There's this Zig Ziglar quote that I love, and I think it goes like this: you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great.
Oh, yeah. That's right. That's right. One of my favorites, Zig Ziglar, baby. The double Z without the top. Yes, indeed.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Start sooner and fight off procrastination with all your might. That's right. Well, there you have it, folks. There you have it. So for those who want to keep in touch with the magical R&R herself, what's the best way for folks to reach out to Rachel?
Yeah, so both of my books are available on Amazon: Money Honey and Passive Income Aggressive Retirement. They're in ebook, paperback, and audio. And what I would love to do for your listeners is, if anybody wants to download my Passive Income Starter Kit, I will give that for free. So you can go to www.moneyhoneyrachel.com/bonus.
Woohoo! Yes, indeed. Money, honey. That's what I'm talking about. It's a bonus, baby. Get that passive income starter kit, folks. That's right. That's right. Christmas came early, folks. Christmas came early. So grab that. Grab the updated edition of Money Honey as well, so you too can be a honey with a bunch of money. Heck, even the dudes too. Throw honey on yourself and you can too be a honey with a bunch of money. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Well, any parting words for the folks still listening, Rachel?
Yeah, so I would just encourage anyone listening that anyone at any age, on any income, can create passive income and achieve financial independence.
How's it going, you super special, awesome human? Since you made it to the end of this episode, it looks like you really enjoyed yourself. Since you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it with at least 3 people in your network and tell them what you really liked about this episode. Heck, even shoot myself or the guest an email and let them know what you liked most about this interview, so that way they can stay inspired to keep pushing out great work.